Continued detailed descriptions from the Artemis II crew aboard Orion. Again, this is a test flight, the first time we've flown humans aboard this spacecraft. So every detail, even that it's difficult to look outside the window and then back at the PCD, that portable computing device, every single detail is appreciated as we prepare for future missions. Glover also mentioned that he is now wearing his glasses now that he's in space and that his eyes have shifted a bit. This is something that happens when our astronauts go to space. There is a fluid shift from the lower half of your body up into your head, and that can cause changes in your eyes. It's something that we have seen over time for some crew members, especially now that we have been living and working on the International Space Station for over 25 years. Again, it's clear that these Artemis II astronauts have undergone extensive lunar science training, including classroom instruction, fieldwork, and high-fidelity simulations. Training expeditions even took place in analog environments like the Icelandic Highlands and the Kemasasin impact crater in Labrador, where crews practiced identifying and describing geologic features under varying conditions. Additionally, here at Johnson Space Center, Orion mock-ups were used to rehearse crew choreography, including three-dimensional space management with an inflatable moon globe to simulate the flyby. And while on Earth, the crew also used that small lunar passport that I mentioned with descriptions, photos, and prompts to help them study the features we hope they'll see. Now, this is a view from their lunar targeting package at this time, helping them determine what they're seeing on the moon, as well as on the left, keep up with what their next target will be. As you can see, we have got a long list and an exciting day ahead of us. It's now been 4 days, 20 hours, and 53 minutes since Orion launched atop the Space Launch System rocket from Kennedy Space Center in Florida with our 4 crew members aboard. NASA astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Cook, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. The Artemis II crew passed a major milestone today when they passed the Apollo 13 distance record at 12:57 p.m. Central, 1:57 p.m. Eastern. That Apollo 13 distance record was 248,655 statute miles from Earth.
And Houston, another observation, whole moon. When you look at the moon, something I've never seen in photographs before, but is very apparent, all the really bright new craters. Some of them are super tiny. Most of them are pretty small. There's a couple that really stand out, obviously. And what it really looks like is like a lampshade with tiny pinprick holes and the light shining through. They are so bright compared to the rest of the moon.
We copy, Christina. Thank you. Looks like you guys might be doing it, but remind you to swap positions at the window and take your SD cards with you. We're loving everything that you're calling down, so keep it up.
Again, Orion previously surpassed that the Apollo 13 greatest distance from Earth by humans. That was 248,655 statute miles from Earth, and Orion now 250,294 miles away from our home planet. The spacecraft is 9,033 miles away from the moon and growing ever closer. At its closest approach, it'll be about 4,070 miles away, and we will make sure we confirm what that distance ends up being. This is an approximation and an estimate ahead of that moment. We're anticipating them to make that closest approach at 6:02 p.m. Central, 7:02 Eastern, when they are in a loss of signal, transiting behind the moon. They will be the first humans in over 50 years to fly behind the moon and lose contact with Earth. We will regain that contact about 40 minutes later as they reconnect to the Deep Space Network, emerging from behind the moon, and we will look forward to seeing an Earthrise. Again, the crew is currently in their position swap portion on their timeline. This allows crew members the opportunity and the experience of all roles necessary during today's flyby. Right now, those two crew members at the window have swap positions. Again, the crew at the windows swapping positions. Right now, that crew is Commander Reed Wiseman and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen, while Victor Glover and Christina Cook serve as their support flyby crew members. That's why you are hearing Victor and Christina during those science situation reports. Those voices will change in about 30 minutes when they take a turn taking photos and making annotations while at the window.
Houston, integrity. I wanted to provide an observation or a little bit of descriptive nature on something that we saw on the first day we had good moon views. This was when we saw more of the near side, and the ground helped me out with identifying Mare Imbrium. Mare Imbrium, when you have the western limb also in view, looks completely different than the normal view we have of the near side. It is the most striking feature of the western limb view that we had. And the mountain chains that form its eastern side are very prominent, but they actually stand out more than I'm used to seeing even on the western side, and the whole thing just feels like a big bump. It actually looks like a large healing wound with a high albedo forming the mountain chain around the impact basin. And I just don't think I had enough chance to describe how striking it was on that western limb view as we were coming in a couple days ago.
Christina, science, absolutely love that, especially since that's a feature that all of us here on Earth can observe from home. So I'm sure tonight everyone's going to be going out and looking for evidence of that beautiful topography you just said. Thanks for those words.
The view on your screen coming from Orion, a camera mounted on the spacecraft's solar array wing. Toward the right of your screen, the near side is the hemisphere we see from Earth. That is identifiable by those dark splotches, which are ancient lava flows.
Science integrity. A question and a comment. Question is it possible that we're seeing a Schrodinger basin from this vantage point in the Terminator at the South Pole? And the comment is Ohm. The rays coming out of Ohm are less distinct. We are not seeing the bright rays coming out of it, but the sort of 9 o'clock wedge that is formed by the change in albedo from the interior portion that is to the northeast to the surrounding lighter mare that's 270 degrees to the west. That 90 is very distinct and interior. You got some great descriptions from the two at the window about the colors in there, but in that darker part, in that wedge, you've got some really interesting color, even though the rays, the distinct difference in the albedo almost look like rays, but it's not the rays coming out, it's the just change in that albedo.
Integrity Science, that is very intriguing, those color rays coming out of Ohm rather than sort of albedo. And as answer to your question, we do not think you can see Schrodinger. It's in darkness as of now. But thanks for that Ohm description, and it sounds like the pair at the window's got great descriptions that we're definitely going to dive into tonight.
Okay. If you could help me, I would still love to know what it is. There's a very nice crater. You're going to likely have a lot of pictures of it. What would be right in the Terminator at the South Pole or close to the South Pole where it's intersecting the Terminator right now?
Yeah, Victor, we're assuming you're talking about, kind of if you're looking at the Terminator, it's basically like 70% down from the North Pole. Is that where you're looking?
Contact, yes, that is where I'm looking.
Integrity Houston, that is an enabled caution for wastewater dump required. We have hit our limit. As expected, no crew action.
Copy, no crew action.
You are.
And Integrity Science, we're trying to figure out what you're looking at there. Is it like right on the Terminator, or is it in the eliminated portion next to the Terminator?
While we wait for a response from the crew, the Terminator is that difference between day and night, or brightness and darkness, that you see on the moon. We see this from the International Space Station as well, looking down at Earth.
And Science from Integrity, excuse my space orientation adaptation. If you draw a line between Glushko through the center of Oriental, and then another line from Glushko through the southern tangent of Oriental, that line would almost perfectly intersect tangentially the crater that I'm talking about, and it is on the Terminator. So yeah, I think I'm not looking at the South Pole. I was a little twisted.
That line description was really helpful. I have eyes on the SIR right now, and they are actively discussing lunar geography. We will be back with you shortly.
You're hearing a couple of voices today in Mission Control Houston. One of those is Dr. Kelsey Young.
Integrity Science, we believe that's Zeeman Crater.
Oh, I pulled it away from the speaker. Say it again, please.
We believe that that is Zeeman Crater.
Zeeman. Okay, and can you say the first letter? I may be pronouncing that wrong. What's the first letter of that word?
Zulu. It's Zeeman.
Copy. Thank you for that. Yes, we've got a great view of that. And when I went back to the window just now, the view has completely changed. Our trajectory is taking us to a new view, and I'm looking more into Vavilov. I've got a nice, great view into Vavilov. I'm actually away from the window right now, so I'm going to go try to give you some bounding words on the view that we're seeing. But I've got to get back to a window in a minute.
Understood, Victor. You're defining new views of the moon in more ways than one.
Again, when you hear calls down to science or from science, that's Dr. Kelsey Young, the Artemis Science Flight Operations Lead here at a console in Mission Control. You also hear communications with the crew from Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jenny Gibbons. She is the Capcom for today. She is a backup Artemis II crew member. Those calls from pilot Victor Glover asking about a feature he was seeing, specifically a crater on the moon. Meanwhile, the team here in the science evaluation room was actively working together to determine what feature he was describing. The teams at the window have continued to move through their targets, including Ohm, Aristarchus Plateau, Reiner Gamma, and we are preparing for the cabin and window teams to swap. That's when we'll hear more from Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen when they take on these support roles, while Christina Cook and Victor Glover are at the windows photographing and annotating. As we briefly mentioned, if you look towards the right side of the moon, essentially, this live view coming from a camera outside the Orion spacecraft, and if you look on the right side of the moon where you see those dark patches.
Wow, yeah, I wish I had some more time to just sit here and describe what I'm seeing, but the Terminator right now is just fantastic. It is the most rugged that I've seen it. From a lighting perspective, there are little islands. There are islands of terrain out there that are completely surrounded by darkness, which indicates some real variation in terrain. Up to the north, there is a very nice double crater. It looks like a snowman sitting there. In the 5-10 degrees below the pole in the Terminator, and then on the southern edge there's almost like a hole. Looks like a hole, and it's the diameter of Vavilov size, just blackness, and then a wall of bright, and then it goes back to the black beyond the Terminator. So there's it looks like there's just a gigantic hole right there. 1 Vavilov diameter east of the Terminator, and as you go south, the Terminator is not a nice smooth arc. It's just jagged. There's almost a 110-degree turn in the shadow as opposed to the nice smooth arc, again indicating some really interesting variations, and I'm sure we'll get some photos of that. And then one of the craters further to the south of Vavilov, maybe halfway down to the South Pole, is not only looks like just a deep hole, and then there's like 2 island rays pointing off to the west and north that indicate very high ridges and very deep canyons coming up out of that crater. So again, just some really interesting visual illusions going on with the shadows there. Like I said, there look to be islands out beyond the terminator because some of the things, maybe even a Vavilov diameter into the terminator are catching sunlight on the peaks up to the north and to the south. It's very, very interesting to see.
Integrity Science, oh my gosh, that was an amazing picture you just painted. I glanced over at the SIR video and I literally saw fist pumps in the air. Those types of observations are things that humans are uniquely able to contribute, and you just really brought us along with you, so thanks for that.
That's awesome, Kelsey. Did you get a sit rep updating you on a slight change in logistics for PCD use?
Christina, this is Houston. We did not, but we will take it now.
We slightly changed the PCD plan for the window observers. The two window observers kept their PCD. So in other words, the one at window 2 went to window 3, and the one at window 3 went to window 2 when they swapped rather than staying at the window. We'll plan on all observers keeping the same PCD for all observations.
Copy, Christina. That makes sense to us, and good plan. We are coming up here on a cabin and window team swap. Let me know when you're ready for a quick vehicle status.
As you heard, Science.
Houston, go for the vehicle system update.
Howdy, Reed. We don't have much for you. We just wanted to let you know that toilet right now is no-go for use as we stick with the predetermined limit for now. All crew members, please use CCUs. Otherwise, Orion is looking very good. And you have 15 minutes in this handover time where we expect Victor and Christina to switch to the windows and you and Jeremy to be in the cabin assisting. Let us know if you have any questions.
No questions at all, and they're in the swap right now. The first thing I'll tell you, I floated up to the docking hatch window and just what I'm going to call the Mari around Oriental just looks so different out the docking hatch right now. It's quite a bit darker. It's the same darkness, if not a little darker than Grimaldi, but it's cool after just being in the 400 mil for the last half hour. Looking up close, I got pictures of everything Ike was just describing on the Terminator. It really is a fascinating Terminator. And then Oriental just looks so dynamic right now. It's very three-dimensional out the docking hatch compared to what I was just looking at through the 400 mil.
We love it. We are getting a sneak preview from one of our SAW cameras at what you're looking at, and we see some of what you're describing. We cannot wait to see your photos. Thanks.
Yeah, Jenny, I wish you had some longer lenses on the solar array so you could see the whole moon, but man, it is, or the up-close moon, not the whole moon, but it is just fascinating here. It's so cool.
All right, MPO and INCO, take notes. We want a zoom lens on those saws next time. Thanks, Reed.
As the crew gets ready to switch positions from the window crew going back to the support crew and the support crew flying up to the windows, this view inside the room, Capcom Jenny Gibbons speaking with the crew, Canadian Space Agency astronaut. The crew has continued to provide excellent descriptions of what they are seeing on the lunar surface. In this picture, or in this live view actually, from Orion and a camera mounted on its solar array wing, if you look at the dark portion on the right side of the screen, those are visible from Earth. That's considered the near side. Those are ancient lava flows from a time early in the moon's history when it was volcanically active. And if you look towards the left, there's that dark, large crater that appears to the left of those lava flows. That's Oriental Basin. It's about 600 miles wide, and it straddles the moon's near and far side. And this mission is the first time that humans have ever been able to see this with their eyes in the daylight. Again, you hear conversation about that terminator. You have a great view of that as well. That's the difference between light and You also heard science officer, the Dr. Kelsey Young, Artemis Science Flight Operations lead, sharing with Victor Glover that his responses are truly something that only human eyes can discern or provide. So we've previously discussed how having humans observing the moon on this mission is being combined with lunar robotic data to help us maximize what we know about the moon. So part of that data comes from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, or LRO. This orbiter provides the robotic foundation that makes Artemis II lunar science possible. LRO has been orbiting the moon for 17 years, which makes it the longest operated lunar orbiter in history. And it's also the only American spacecraft dedicated specifically to lunar science and exploration. Artemis II lunar observations are designed to complement data like the detailed surface images from LRO. So while LRO provides those detailed high-resolution maps of the moon's surface, the Artemis II crew adds human observations that focus on regional context and relationships between features, giving scientists a larger geologic picture. Now, this combination of robotic and human observations strengthens lunar science. LRO delivers precise and repeatable measurements over long periods of time, while the Artemis II crew contributes real-time visual descriptions and context that robotic instruments alone cannot provide. The best description I've heard while preparing for this mission is to compare the difference in looking at the moon with your own eyes on Earth and trying to take a picture with a camera. The camera truly never does it justice, and it's much easier to describe and perceive what you're seeing with your own eyes than to take a photo. These Artemis II astronauts can rapidly scan wide areas and adjust their focus in real time, as well as describe relationships between features. The crew will also observe the same regions multiple times under changing lighting conditions during the flyby and provide perspectives that would take robotic missions years to accumulate. During the Artemis II mission, LRO is also attempting to observe some of the same lunar features that the astronauts are studying. Collecting this data simultaneously highlights how different instruments and human eyes provide complementary information about the moon. This LRO data plays a direct role in preparing for future Artemis missions. Its measurements of topography, surface temperature, composition, radiation, and lighting conditions are used to assess hazards, identify safe landing sites, and locate potential resources such as water ice near the lunar South Pole. This mission, Artemis II, represents the point where years of robotic preparation are paired with human exploration for the first time in the Artemis era. So together, LRO, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, and Artemis II are demonstrating how NASA moves from mapping the moon robotically to exploring it with humans. We are laying the groundwork for future Artemis missions and sustained lunar operations. A check-in with Orion. We are now 4 days, 21 hours, and 22 minutes into the flight of Artemis II, our crew aboard the Orion spacecraft. We are now 8,153 miles away from the moon, 250,742 miles away from Earth. The spacecraft is traveling at 1,030 miles per hour.
the professional science update giver is now in seat 2. That is where Victor is, and Christina is nestling into seat 1 with the long lens, and we're just getting ourselves oriented here. It's a cool view in the cabin. It's actually a cool view to be off the camera now and looking at my crewmates getting up to their observation posts and looking in. It's super fun.
Copy, I'll read. We like it.
As we heard confirmation from NASA astronaut and commander of Artemis II, Reed Wiseman, they are now switching positions of the support teams and the observation teams. So initially, Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen were at windows 2 and 3 in the Orion spacecraft, taking photos and making annotations in their PCDs, portable computing devices. They were also giving audible descriptions into their PCDs, wearing headsets with microphones and providing recordings that the science team will be able to listen to later. We were hearing from NASA astronauts Christina Cook and Victor Glover as they made observations as part of the support team. Now, as these teams are swapping, we anticipate hearing more from Reed and Jeremy as they'll be on the support team, while Victor and Christina will be at the windows taking photos and making annotations.
the science team if they can mark this time. I just covered up window 4 to block out the ambient light from a very bright planet Earth. And it'll be interesting to see if in the data Victor and Christina see any differences from me and Jeremy with that window blocked. It's a lot darker in the cabin now.
Copy, Reed. We're taking note, and we'd be curious too.
We are live in the Artemis mission control room during the lunar flyby of the Artemis II crew, the first humans to fly by the moon in over 50 years. Orion launched 4 days, 21 hours, and 30 minutes ago atop the SLS rocket, Space Launch System rocket from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Our 4 crew members inside the spacecraft are transitioning their positions. The cabin and window teams have swapped. Currently at the window, we have Victor Glover and Christina Cook, NASA astronauts, and serving as support, Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen. For our crews at the window, they are using handheld Nikons with an 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lens. There are also GoPros on each of the solar arrays on Orion, and that's where this view is coming from right now. We have an interior camera of the crew as well, but they have dimmed the cabin lights. They've actually turned off the cabin lights to allow them to better see outside of the spacecraft. This also helps prevent any reflections from lights inside the spacecraft reflecting onto the windows while they are photographing the moon.